Hi, everybody, and welcome to another one of our In Conversations With. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Peter Connor and Ilona Meyer. Peter, maybe I can ask you to introduce yourself to start with, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and hi everyone. I was an in-house counsel for goodness more years than I can remember, mainly working overseas in Europe and a member of ACC, I might add. But now what I do is help in-house legal teams. I run essentially boot camps. I'm sort of a legal team coach, if you will, all around this idea of the T-shaped lawyer, which we can talk about in a minute.
Very good. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us, Peter. Ilona, delighted to meet you and welcome to the conversation today. Maybe tell us a little bit about you and your role.
Thank you, Chris. Sure. So I'm the global general counsel for a company called Nuix. We're a data analytics company, and we've got a team of about 13 lawyers spread across the globe. Been a lawyer for probably about, could I say 25 years? It's starting to sound a bit long in the tooth, but been around for a little while.
Very good. Thank you very much. And a member of ACC, I'm delighted to hear as
Indeed.
well. Very good. Great. Well, thank you both. And it's really lovely to meet you. Look, there's lots of discussion over the years around the right approach to developing legal team capabilities. Is it the same as developing other functions within organizations, or are lawyers a breeder themselves? So I'm really interested, obviously, in hearing the different ideas that are floating around. And Peter, yeah, you've obviously done a lot of research into this. Maybe a starting point with you. If we look at your first book, The T-Shaped Lawyer: A New Vision for You and Your Work, can you just tell me a little bit about why you believe, or what drives that tagline and what it means in practice?
Sure, Chris. So I should say that I've done a little bit of research, but most of the context, the empirical basis for what I'm saying, is my own experience as a lawyer, and for the last 10 years working with legal teams all over the world. So, but the idea is a simple one. It's the idea that it comes from the T-shaped professional concept, which is the idea that you have your area of expertise. In our case, it's the law, but you also want to develop not just skills, non-legal skills, but non-legal capabilities and do non-legal work. So that's the essence of the idea. And if you put up the first slide, if you're able to put up that
first bear with me 1 second, of course.
This captures, I'm trying to capture in one image the idea. So it's the idea of a lawyer being more than just a lawyer, being a business person, providing business advice and input, not just legal advice, and doing business work, not just legal work, for the benefit of the company, not just the legal department. And so that breaks down into this idea of having a business person mindset, doing not just internal business work, which is in our speak legal ops work, but also client business work. And there's two different dimensions to that: business partnering and business leadership.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. And that's really interesting. The business partnering piece, let me stop sharing my screen. The business partnering piece in particular is a concept I think I've certainly come across in the HR world many years ago as people were moving down that line. And I think, particularly from my conversations with general counsels, the role is fundamentally shifting from being purely legally focused to being almost have an advisorial type of role with lots of different hats. And Ilona, maybe a great opportunity to bring you in. Just tell me maybe a little bit contextually about how you see your role, and then maybe layer it back to your interest in the work that Peter's been doing.
Sure, no problem. So I think Peter raises a really interesting concept for us to grasp as general counsels and really leaders of not only legal teams, but also trusted advisors to the business. If you have a look at today, everything's moving in terms of age of technology. Everything's moving fast. We've got AI, we've got these systems. People are starting to wonder, what does it mean for our jobs? And I think there's a little bit of lost sight on the lawyer as a human being as well. So Peter's work really helps us to hone in that. It reminds us that people are our most important asset. So let's not lose the humanity in all of the AI hype. But if you look at in-house teams, more commonly now they're global. There's varying years of experience within the team. And Peter's work on the T-shaped lawyer focuses on these business or soft skills. And I think they're the things that truly add value to the organisation. So if you look, in-house lawyers inherently, they want to get closer to the business. There's a reason why they left firm life to come and work and be part of the people, the business, the purpose, and sort of the success around the organisation. So I think Peter's work, from my perspective, aligns with this philosophy. He understands how lawyers work. Like, sometimes we're a bit of an unusual breed. And of course, also he's got the benefit of providing those many years of experience. He's walked in the shoes. So that insight and that overlay, I think, is really attractive and important for us to look at how we can best develop our own teams and the lawyers within the teams for the benefit of the business.
And if I can add to that, Chris, if I may.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I think pretty much every legal leader gets the idea of, being business oriented, being business minded, and being a business partner. But there's a distinction between that. That's a noun, being a business partner. I'm talking about the verb, business partnering, and actually engaging in business work. And frankly, that's something some lawyers, the best lawyers, Ilona no doubt, will do that. But I don't think anyone sort of has spelled it out as I've done now, or called it out. And that's what I'm trying to do in my book and in the workshop. And that's important because that's, as Ilona says, it's all focused on people. Most of the focus in the corporate legal industry at the moment is really on technology and process. And if there's any transformation, it's in that area. And that has an impact on people. But what I'm focusing on is what I call human transformation. That is changing the work that lawyers do and their capabilities to do that different work. And that's the distinction.
Yeah. Okay. And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's not, if you look at law school modeling is about teaching you how to be a lawyer in a very black and white way. And you come out of law school and you are a very good lawyer typically, and then you have to learn all the other things. It's a little bit like growing up. You've got to learn all the life skills. And now we're talking about the professional skills in the context of that. Thank you. Ilona, maybe just stick with you for a moment, if I may. What reaction in the sort of immediacy? I know you've just started the journey with Peter, but what reaction are you getting from your team in terms of the model and the approach that you'd like to take?
Yeah, it's been really positive, actually. It's interesting to see lawyers in different jurisdictions have a different sort of mindset about what it means to be a lawyer. Yeah. Those of us that have been around for a while understand that you need to be a person, you need to be able to have a conversation, you need to build trust with your client. When we've got the younger team coming through, they sort of have this vision that I've graduated, I'm a lawyer, and now I can just go and be amazing as a lawyer. And they're still learning how to have that conversation or understand, why are they providing certain things? Why are they providing a confidentiality agreement? Is there a reason? Tell me the background, talk to me about it, build the trusting relationship. So I think it's really insightful, particularly for the younger lawyers coming through, because they've got a nice one-stop shop to go and like a ready reference way to look up things and understand, and because they're very astute and they're very good at understanding and reviewing. And the older ones are sort of let me call them the more experienced ones. We've had to trip and fall and find our way through the process to learn it. So it's a little bit of passing the wisdom down in a nice sort of framework, and the team are embracing it. They really are, because it's a value add to them as a person as well as being a lawyer.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. The difference between, and similarly, I've experienced these differences globally. The difference between a lawyer in X country or Y country or B jurisdiction, and what they are, and maybe some of their background about what they've been actually asked to do in previous lives is changing fundamentally to a much more blended approach. And I think the timing, therefore, for us to have this conversation is optimal. Peter, I'm conscious of time, but it would be remiss of me not to talk about the second book. So the second book, the T-Shaped Lawyer Guidebook, a framework for your professional development, sort of takes the why to the next level, which is to how to become that T-shaped lawyer. Maybe just give us a flavour about some of the things that you talk about in that second book.
Yeah, great, Chris. And that's spot on the way you've described that. It's part of how you implement that vision. And See, most lawyers are now struggling. You see it on LinkedIn all the time. People are, asking, they know they need non-legal skills and knowledge, but they're guessing as to what it is. And what I've tried to do in the framework is come up with a structured way of a very specific combination of not just skills. Everyone's referring to skills, soft skills, human skills, and quite often human skills are not skills at all. They're qualities. And that's not a being semantic. That actually matters. The distinction between skills, competencies, qualities, knowledge, and mindsets, the way in which you develop each of those and the way that you use them in your work, your legal work and your business work, is different. And so the distinction does matter. And I've written actually in the ACC docket about some of these ideas, and including the importance of being precise when it comes to the language of change. Lawyers are very precise when it comes to the law, but frankly, we use terms like innovation and value and business partner and these things very loosely, and it matters because if you're not precise, you can't get the ideas across. So yeah, the framework is a structured way of thinking about your professional development. And for example, I've rolled this out with a large law firm in Asia. They've got 1,000 lawyers, and they use it as the basis of assessing each of the individual lawyers, and you find out which areas they need some work on. And so it leads to a very structured way of developing yourself, rather than just guessing that it might be empathy, it might be design thinking, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of, whether you want to call it a guidebook or route map, or I mean, there'll be lots of interchangeable words here around development framework, I think is a really useful guideline for people. Ilona, maybe my final question for you. You're on this journey, the journey's commenced. It sounds like you've got a lot of positive support from your team. If you look a period of months down the tracks to when you've engaged and you've worked with Peter, what does success look like, and how does this model enable you to drive that success?
Yeah, look, I think we'll absolutely get there, but I think for me, success is every individual team member coming to the realization that they offer much more than strictly legal advice to the business. They understand the business. They can apply actually their lateral thinking skills to solve other business problems, not just legal problems. And if you think about it, the legal team is always involved in some sort of crisis, right? There's always something that comes out. And really our greatest value add is not always providing the legal advice. It's the understanding, it's the empathy, it's the consideration, it's being able to apply those skills to other problems rather than just legal advice. So success for me is knowing that each of the team members have gone through this process. They understand, look, I've got so much more value to add than just being a lawyer. So that's kind of a nice summary, perhaps.
And that's great to hear. Thank you. Peter, final words with you as we look to bring this to a close. What would you say, and how should members approach you if they'd like to find out more?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate that, and thanks again for the time today. I mean, people can find me on LinkedIn. My email's there. They can read the books if they want to just have a little taster to see what it's like. No, I'm really looking forward to working with Ilona. You can tell she's a progressive GC who gets it. That they're not always that way, believe me. But I think and I think she appreciates, as she just said, that most legal teams are focused on the cost-efficient delivery of legal services, and that's important. I get that. That's the main sort of focus of most legal teams, but that's not sufficient. What you need to be doing is doing that and looking to do new things so that you can have more of an impact, be more effective, not just more efficient. And that's really what this model is all about. And I'm really excited to work with the Nuix team to help them make more of an impact.
Brilliant. Lovely to hear. Peter, Ilona, thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, we are out of time today. Great to meet you both, and thank you, and good luck, Ilona, on your journey with Peter. And Peter, good luck with obviously everything with the books. And it would be remiss of me maybe not just to finish with a blatant plug. So these are the books available on Amazon. Again, Ilona, Peter, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to catching up with you both again soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.